I'll just record this one too, just in case. I want to post it as well. Okay, so first thing, we do now have a playlist on our YouTube channel, which is all about Google Meet. So I'm dropping that in the chat right now. There's 4 recordings that I created. 2 of them are geared at teachers. One video is how to create a Meet using Google Classroom. And then the other video is how to create a Meet if you do not have Google Classroom. And then the other 2 videos are for students. So you can share this with your students, parents, because let's face it, parents a lot of times are going to be actually helping set this up for students. And so those are very short, and it's just one video is how, if you're a student, how do you connect to your teacher's Google Classroom, Google Meet, if they're using Classroom. The other video is if your teacher is not using Google Classroom, how to get into their Meet. Okay, so those are 4 videos that are on the playlist, plus some videos from a guy named Eric Kurtz, who does some very good short instructional videos. I've linked those in the playlist as well. And then I'm going to drop in the link to our CPDU sign-in sheet. You only have to sign in if you want CPDU credit. If you do not need that, don't want that, you can just disregard that. Okay, so first of all, the number one thing to note that is different between creating a Meet for use with staff. So some of you might have created Meets through Calendar, right, for like staff meetings and things like that. That is not the way we create Meets to use with students. Partly because if you create a Meet using Calendar and do that add conferencing, basically that creates a link that's just like an open Meet. Anybody can join it at any time with anybody that has the link, right? So that is not the most secure way to have Meets with our students. The number one most secure way to have Meets with students is using Google Classroom. So Classroom now has Google Meet integrated right into it. And I'm going to show you how to enable that feature for your Google Classroom. So if you do not currently use Google Classroom and you don't want to use Google Classroom, I'm going to show you another method as well. But we have been learning over the last 2 Tech Slams that even if you don't want your students to join a Google Classroom, in some cases it makes sense to just create a Google Classroom, because then it gives you this link for a Meet, and then you can share that with your students in different ways. But we can talk about that in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And in just a moment, you should see this test class that I set up called Rainbow Class. Can you guys give me a little thumbs up if you can see that? Cool, okay. So right now, this is probably what your Google Classroom looks like. And then in order to enable Google Meet with your classroom, you just go to the little gear icon, scroll down, find the Meet icon, toggle it on, save, done. That's all you need to do forever. You don't ever need to do anything different. It'll now, the link to your Google Meet will be up here in the top of your classroom at all times. You can, if you go back into settings, you can toggle it off so it's not visible. I don't know why you would want to toggle it off. Maybe you have a reason to do that. But basically, students cannot join this unless you're in it. And so students might say, hey, you guys, let's meet back in the classroom link at 8 o'clock tonight. They can't do that unless you're in it. So that's like why it doesn't really matter if you leave this on or not. Students can't get in unless you're there. So it's kind of like a locked classroom. And that's why when we want to use this method as opposed to Calendar, because they cannot get in unless you're in. And also, if you, for some reason, need to reset this link, you would also be able to go back into settings, and that's an option. But I don't really know why you would need to do that either. But if you need to, you can. So this is up here. Every single time you and your students want to join this Meet, you have to come back to Google Classroom and click the link. So when you click the link, you'll see it opened up a new tab. And now you might have some students or yourself that just will try to bookmark this address. You don't want to do that because every single time you click this link to start a Meet, it generates a new URL. So if you or a student tries to just bookmark that tab that opened, it's not going to work. You're always going to have to come back to Classroom and get this link. But also, some people asked, well, what if I want to share this link with my kids in Seesaw or in an email, or like paste it into a chart that I use with them in the beginning of the day? That's fine, doesn't matter. As long as the link is this one, generated through your Google Classroom, you can share it however you want. It doesn't have to be going to Classroom, but they do need to always use this exact same link, okay? Any questions about that specifically? All right. So this one, I'm going to demonstrate now the other method that you can use to create secure links with students for Meet. You'll see that this is like the way easiest method. But if you don't have Classroom and you don't want it, the other way that you can create a Meet for students is if you go and
We've just been having connectivity issues, so I'm gonna have to wait a little bit for her to reconnect.
Matt, while we're waiting, I don't know if you saw my my question in the comments.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I used it this morning with my kiddos, and I did the first strategy here of doing it through Google Classroom. And while I was in my class with my group of kids, a student that's not in my class joined us, which I assume means one of my kids shared the link with their friend. But so there is there any way that you can you can't lock it anyway to prevent kids that aren't in that
currently, Google is working on a way to lock Meets to only people in the Google Classroom. But for now, it kind of has to be a norm with students to not share the link with other students. So unfortunately, that's not a feature that's in Meet yet. So
okay. I mean, as soon as I said something, the child left right away. And I mean, but I assume, and it was 8th grade, of course. 6th and 7th grade went without a problem, but it was 8th grade, of course. But you know, I'm assuming other people might try it at some point. So I just thought.
So if, for people outside the district, you'll have to manually admit them, but people can join automatically. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So Alicia, you cut off right before you're about to share how to start meetings the second way.
Okay. So sadly, here we go. My home internet is now uncooperating. So give me a sec. I was on my phone.
You have to unmute.
Technology. Oh my God. So I was just on my phone just now. So that shows you that you can connect to a Google Meet through your phone and it works okay. I just wasn't able to share my screen, obviously, and stuff like that. So am I still sharing my screen? No. All right, let's do that back. And we'll go here. Okay, so the other way besides Google Classroom is to go to either your Waffle and choose Meet, like this. Scroll down and choose Meet, or you can just type in meet.google.com and you will be able to see it's the exact same thing, basically. So the trick here is that you as a teacher can create a meeting this way. You can also join a meeting this way. So let's say you want to create a meeting. You click there, and here's where you have to give it a nickname. Now, the little message here says you can just leave it blank, but if you leave it blank, it's less secure. It doesn't create like that special kind of closed classroom URL. So you do need to create a nickname if you do it this way. It always changes uppercase to lowercase, so you can just do a lowercase. I suggest doing some kind of something like your last name, your district, and then maybe your school, something like that. And as soon as you click continue, the Meet is live. And so I really don't recommend doing this until you're ready to get in, because now it's ready. And then you can, once you join it, then you'll be in the Meet. And so what you would do is say, okay, students, at 1 o'clock, go to meet.google.com. And students, when they try to go to meet.google.com, they will get a little notification saying, you cannot create a Meet, but you can join a Meet. Do you have a nickname code, basically? They will just type in your little code. And since it's that code and it's in our domain, it knows that they're trying to get into your Meet. All right. So again, you would kind of create that. You could tell them the nickname the day before or whenever, but then you would actually go and create that Meet like right before it's time for them to join. And then every single time you want to meet with them, you would need to go to Google or meet.google.com, click start a meeting, type in the code, and then start the Meet. So if you meet with your students 5 days a week, all the 5 days in a row at 1 o'clock, right before 1 o'clock every single day, you're going to need to go to meet.google.com, type in your code, start that meeting. So again, you can use the same nickname every single day, but you're going to have to do these steps every single day. So that's why Google Classroom is just like way easier. It's just that one link every single time. But you can definitely do it this way. And also with Google Classroom and with this meet.google.com, students cannot join it until you're there. And then as long as you are the last person in the Meet and all the students have left, students will not be able to rejoin it. So it is like locking your classroom door. Unlike calendar meets that you create, it's just open. And then if there's most students, when you say, okay, thanks for coming, see ya, students will just hang up or they'll just close the window. But if you have some students who are just lingering and will not leave for some reason, you can just click on the little person icon at the top right of your screen and you'll see the list of people drop down. Hover next to their name and click the little drop down arrow and you'll be able to actually manually remove them. Okay. So those are the two methods that you would use to start meets with students. And we really were able to problem solve with a lot of people this earlier today on how they could still use Google Classroom because it's way easier. Even if they don't want students to join the actual Google Classroom, they can just share the link. So we can help you do that if you're interested in that as well. Matt, was there anything else about that topic that we wanted to mention?
I don't think so.
Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. What if the teacher's internet? Yes, if the teacher's internet goes out, we had that question earlier. If the teacher's internet goes out and the teacher will be able to rejoin, however, the teacher will not be able to manually remove students or mute students. So kind of like some of their powers disappear if they have to rejoin once the Meet has started, but they will be able to still rejoin, right, Matt?
And that's only for nickname meets. Meets created through Classroom, if they rejoin, they'll still have that power to mute and remove students.
Excellent. That's a great distinction. So yet another reason why this Classroom integration is just so nice. You can just rejoin it and still keep your teacher powers. Jen, first asked, can I make a meet on meet.google.com and share it in a post on my Google Classroom? You could, but I don't know why you would want to. It's just so much easier and more straightforward to use just that Google Classroom integration link. So feel free to unmute yourself if you want to.
Yeah, this is probably more for me than other people, so we can talk about it later too. I have multiple classes in one class, Google Classroom, because I have like 2 7th grade music classes. And so they all have the same assignments. So I've got them in the same Google Classroom, but if I wanted to meet with them separately, I would need to go through meet.google.com, correct?
Not necessarily. You could use the same link, but give them different times. So if you say these kids come at 1, these kids come at 2,
Okay.
then you could do it that way. I mean, there's nothing to prevent the kids that should be coming at 2 from also coming at 1, but you know, you could
Okay.
also remove them manually. So I think that would probably keep it just kind of cleaner for you.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. But will kids still be meeting without me? Yeah, Amanda, if you get kicked off, yes, your students will still be in your class. But like you saw with my own situation, I had my smartphone right next to me, and I just opened up, well, I opened up Calendar because this was a calendar created meet, but you could just open up Google Classroom app or whatever, wherever you have your link, click it, and then probably within 30 seconds, you could be back in it. So, okay. Let's go on next to some of the functionality. I'm going to stop presenting here for a minute. And we have pushed out at least three different extensions to students, some for students and staff, and some just for students. So the first one you probably noticed is called Nod, and that is this little white bar in the upper left corner. You can see if you hover over the thumbs up, there's some different options. So it's kind of cool to give some kind of formative feedback, like, how's everybody feeling about this? And kids could, you know, indicate how they feel, or like thumbs up for understanding, thumbs down, so that you don't have to have kids like trying to speak. And so you can go ahead and play with that if you want to. Just click and see what it looks like. Also, you can implement a hand raising kind of protocol. And so you can say, don't just unmute yourself and start talking. Please click the raise hand. And then you, the teacher, though, would need to be paying attention to that. And like, if somebody raises their hand, you would need to address them. We have noticed that we think students can X out each other's. So like somebody could just X out Jill's right now and make it go away for everybody. So we think that's the case, which isn't great. But again, this is like an extension, so it's not as robust as the actual kind of tool. And the extensions are always being made better. So if you have feedback for the extension, you just can go to Chrome Web Store and like give them feedback and say, hey, it would be nice if only the teacher could get rid of somebody's hand raising or something. But that's what Nod is. We've also, as you can see, pushed out grid view to all teachers and all students. And so that is the little white bar on the upper right corner where you see the little grid icon. And then you can see everybody's kind of faces next to each other. And then if you hover over that grid, you can see that there's a little drop down of some different options. So one at the very bottom option is enable screen capture mode. And so what screen capture mode does, and you can even try this, this is just for your own screen, so it's not going to change anything for anybody else if you click that. Basically, it makes it so that everybody who is currently live on video, their names disappear. And it allows you, the teacher, to take a screenshot so that you can share it on Twitter if you want, or send it in an email, or on Seesaw to your parents, or however you might want to post it publicly. Because for our district, we're okay with posting students' faces. We just don't want their names connected. And so screen capture, if you're on live video, it takes their names away. And then with that, though, it's important to only post pictures of students who have publishing permission set to yes. But something else that we've learned is that if somebody is not on video, like I'm just going to mention Amanda really quick, she's not on video, which is fine. But if I went to screen capture mode, all of you who are live, your names would disappear. Amanda's, because she's not live, her name is still there. So it's not like a perfect solution, but if all your kids are on video, everybody has publishing permissions, you can do screen capture and you're good to go. Okay, I'm going to present again, and then we'll look at that Google Meet guidance document that was shared by Mike yesterday. And so this down here, kind of near the bottom, there's a really nice visual that shows what can you do and what can students do. And so, like I said, students cannot create their own meet. Students cannot mute each other or you, only you can do that. Neither students nor you can actually unmute someone else. So if a student is like not unmuted, but they're trying to talk, you can't do it for them. You have to be like, oh, I forgot to mention the other extension that goes along with this is called Push to Talk. And we push this extension out to students only. And so this makes it so that when students join their Meet, they're automatically muted. And so in order for students to talk, they have to push the space bar. And they can either push and hold and speak that way, or they can tap the space bar to kind of toggle on mute and unmute. But you can't do that for them. So that's the Push to Talk that all students now have. Also in here, so both students and teachers can present or can share their screen. And so to do that for both students and teachers, if you hover over the bottom of your screen, the little white bar will appear at the bottom where you can mute yourself, you can hang up, you can enable your video. If you go over to the right, you'll see where you can share your screen. And so you would just click that and you'll be prompted, do you want to share just a window? Do you want to share your whole screen? And then you and students can share your screen. Only the teacher, though, can stop someone from sharing their screen. Also with that, this is kind of cool. If you also continue to look at the bottom of your screen with that white bar, I'm going to click Turn on Captions. And so we tried this in the last TechSlam, and it was pretty cool. That people said it was pretty good. It's basically doing captions of everything that anybody says. I did notice that every time I say TechSlam, it translated as text lamb, but otherwise it looks pretty good. And then the other thing on the bottom of your screen, these little 3 dots, if you click the little 3 dots, that's where you can record. And I'll talk about recording in a minute, but that's where you can record, you can turn off the captions, and there's a couple of other things that you can do. Okay. Also, if we look back at the grid here of features, students cannot allow people without district email addresses to join a Meet, but you can. So generally, the guidance is we don't want non-district people joining our Meets with students, but there might be some exceptions, like with teletherapy potentially, or preschool potentially, or some different considerations like that. You as the teacher will be able to manually admit external addresses. So you'll get a little notification that says, so-and-so would like to join your Meet. You just click accept and they'll be able to join. Unlike Zoom, Google Meet does not have whiteboard or breakout rooms built in right now, but there are some different tools that you can use to do whiteboarding and then share with your students, like your screen. And so I'm going to do a TechSlam on that on Tuesday. And that's Jamboard, which is a Google product. It's really cool. And also Chrome Canvas. So these are 2 whiteboarding whiteboarding tools that we can use along with Google Meet. And then there's also a kind of a cool way that you can create breakout rooms. It takes a couple steps, but we might do a TechSlam on this as well, like how you could use Google Meet to do different breakout rooms for your students. You just make sure I'm saying all the things. Okay, so really the last kind of big part that I'll just talk about before we just open it up to questions and comments is just security considerations and guidelines. So first of all, number 1 is the teacher needs to make sure they're the last one in the Meet. So again, if you have students who will not leave, you can remove them manually. Also, recording. Recording is optional. So every district is addressing this differently, but our district has decided that recording is optional. You don't have to, but you're not prevented from doing so. So reasons why you might want to record would be if you want to make the recording available to students who are not able to join. Like if there was a discussion or you were teaching something, you could make it available and post it back into your Google Classroom. So the way that works is a few minutes after you finish recording, you'll get an email with an attachment, like an automatic email that has the video attached, and then you could take that video and post it to your classroom or share it in a different way. Also, the video is automatically saved in your Google Drive in a folder called Meet Recordings. It's like there already, but you'll also get an email. The other really cool thing, if you record, is that it also, in addition to the email with the video attached, that email also has a text file of the chat. So if you're talking away and your kids, your students are having like a whole nice little sidebar conversation, or asking legitimate questions, of course, you'll get the entire transcript of the chat, which is pretty nice too. So then you can see, oh, there were some questions I didn't address, but I can make sure to address them at a different time. You might also want to record if maybe you're one-on-one meeting with a student and you feel more comfortable having that recorded. That might be a time that you record it as well. But again, it's not a requirement, just an option. Also, parent notification is going out really soon. Mike Grantini has been working on that. Something to know, it is not an opt-in or opt-out for Google Meet. So we feel really strongly that this is a really amazing opportunity for our kids. It's just another way that we're supporting learning. So it's not like parents can opt out to have their kids invited to join the Meet, or that they have to like opt in to do it. So it's just more like, this is what we're doing. FYI, here's kind of some of the security considerations and stuff like that. And as I mentioned, 2 of those videos that are on that YouTube playlist are specifically geared for students and parents. And so it's like, here's how you join a Google Classroom Meet, and here's how you join a non-Google Classroom Meet. So they're very short. It hopefully will help parents kind of like figure that out. Also, we ask that you, especially in the beginning, share some expectations with your students about background. My husband is a high school teacher, and they've had to have conversations with their students about, sometimes students are trying to like sneak little inappropriate things into their backgrounds. So, you know, just like what's school appropriate, clothing potentially, how to raise their hand, things like that. Also, we ask that Google Meets only happen during school hours. So if there's a reason why you want to have a Google Meet outside of school hours, just talk about that with your principal and, you know, case by case kind of basis. But for the most part, they should just be happening during school hours. I think that's about it as far as my little script that I wanted to mention. So go ahead and unmute yourself if you have questions, and I'll look at the chat too. Jennifer, you mentioned we want students to join and participate. Is there any protocol on whether they should join using camera or no camera? Students are already not wanting to be on camera, but I feel like it will be good to see faces. Yeah, that's a good, actually that brings up 2 things I wanted to mention. Number 1, people also have asked, is this required? Like, how much do we have to meet with students on video? It's not required. Okay, so you do not have to do this. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful way to connect, but you don't have to. Or you can start really small. Just do like a short check-in, how's it going, and then progress as you're comfortable with more like teaching or, you know, discussions and things like that. But also, we also cannot require students to be on camera. So, you know, hopefully they'll do it themselves just because they like seeing each other. But if a student maybe is uncomfortable with what is in their background, or for any reason, we just can't require that. Are Google Meets automatically recorded by district software? No. So Jonathan, if you want to record it, you yourself have to initiate that recording. Should we always record and then delete if we don't need? Yeah.
So that's for if the district records, we can see like all the meetings that are happening, I guess, with the quality tool, but we can't see like a transcript automatically. So we can see participants and all the meets going on. But
and Matt, do we have like that information later if we wanted to say there was a meet that happened last week? Can we look up that information to see who is in there or no? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So should we always record and then delete? Really, that's up to you. It really is. So I think originally I had talked about, should we make it mandatory that everybody records just for that reason, like just to have it? But you know, we don't want to put an undue burden on people, and maybe that's not necessary. So if that's how you're most comfortable, you could definitely do that. Can you start recording in the middle of a session if you want to record? Oh yeah, for sure. If you want to record but forgot at the beginning. Yep, you can start recording it, and that's just where it'll start, is from when you started. If parent, guardian are in the classroom, is there a risk of them joining the Google Meet? Yes, if they, for some reason, have access to your Google Classroom, they could click on that Meet link. But then because they have a non-district email, you will see like so-and-so wants to join, and you can just say no, if that's what I would do probably. And then maybe email them later and say, yeah, we don't really, invite parents to drop in on the class. Is there any way to just get audio only for the recording? No, I don't believe so. I think if you record, it's video as well. I mean, you can say nobody be on video, but that's sort of, yeah. So no, basically, no, there's not a way to just get audio. Other questions? With primary students, parents will most likely be part of this session. Yeah, I mean, we did get original kind of recommendations from the lawyers to say no parents can be around, no siblings can be around, they must be in a completely private room, but that's just not realistic, right? I mean, they're doing this in their houses with their siblings and parents around, and we know that there might be a parent hovering like out of screenshot or something, but no, really, you might talk to your parents or say something like, we don't want you sitting with your child and kind of doing this. This is really our class still, even though it's virtual. But I think it's a good thing for us to remember that, especially with the littler ones, it's really probably pretty likely that the parent at some point is going to be hovering maybe just out of camera shot. In an earlier meeting, you mentioned a student could call in. Yes, is that true? Can you still mute them? Yeah, so if a student is having internet problems but would like to be part of the video of the meet, they can still call in. And so the way that you as the lead on this will get that information is, again, if you hover, well, there's a couple ways. If you're live in the chat and need to get the information, you can hover down at the bottom and you get that white toolbar again. And you click the little arrow next to the name of this conference or the name of your meet. A little box will pop up, and that'll give you the details for this meeting, including the dial-in phone number, along with a PIN. The PIN is like 9 digits long, and then they have to dial in the phone number as well. But I think also when you first create the meet, especially if you use meet.google.com, it'll give you that information. Like once you create it, here's the phone information. And so if somebody ahead of time needs to call in, you can give that to them. Just double checking, this would not be a good option to be singing together at the same time. Hey, I'd say give it a try. I mean, might as well try it. And if it's like, yeah, that didn't work, at least but could be interesting. I've seen, like, maybe you guys have seen on Facebook and stuff, those Zoom calls where like all the stars of Hamilton like got together and sang all together. So you can try it. Anything else? Did you guys all get the CPDU form? Does anybody still need me to drop it in the chat? Okay. And just remember the YouTube channel has lots of videos, and then probably we'll do some tech slams in the next, I don't know, month or so related to Google Meet. Also, as people use it with students, and as you guys discover things like, ooh, I discovered that if I do this, this happens, or anything at all, please like reach out. I would love to hear how people are using this, and also if there's any weird things that you notice, because this is brand new to all of us, so we're all kind of learning together. We've already learned a bunch today, right, Matt? Just from people that have tried stuff already today, so that's been really cool. So like I mentioned, I'm just staying here until everyone's gone, so feel free to continue asking questions or to leave or whatever you want to do. But I will not remove anyone manually, I promise.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Anything
This is Amanda. I have one more question. If I'm a co-teacher, like if my co-teacher is in the same classroom with me, will she have the same like teacher functions to like X kids out and do that, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks, Amanda. I should have mentioned that. So yes, if whoever is the teacher, the co-teacher that joins first, they're the ones that have the power. Right, Matt? I'm saying that correctly. So yeah.
Yeah, correct.
So Amanda, if you and I are co-teachers and you get in there before me, you're the one that gets to have all that control, not me.
Awesome, thank you. I just was wondering how it all worked out.
Yeah, no, that's a good, we've had that question a bunch of times. So I think a lot of people do that kind of co-teaching. And so, yeah, that's like the kind of weird thing, like why can't they both have the power? But for some reason right now, at least it's just whoever gets there first.
And that's the same thing, even like with recording, right? It's that first teacher that's in there, like that person would have the power to record, or?
No, I don't know. I think probably either, because they're both staff members, right, Matt? Because students can't record, but staff members can.
I'm going to assume it's the first one again, just
Okay.
for consistency, but it might be, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have to see. That's a good question. We'll have to see how that works.
And also, if you're the first one there, you got to be the last one to leave also, right?
You know, not necessarily. I think it's more like whoever is the last one to leave, then it's like closed. The door is closed, right? So technically a student could be the last one in this. Once the student leaves, then it's closed. Right?
Yes, and students cannot enter a meeting back unless the host or the meeting creator is present. But they can, I guess, if you leave, but then two students are still in the chat, they can chat with each other, you know, throughout. So that's why you want to be the last one.
Yep, exactly. So like you're doing the locking of that classroom door basically by being the last one in and out. The first one in, last one out. Anything else?
Alicia, would you mind putting the CPDUs in the thing? Because I didn't get them at that point. Mine was kind of glitching when you did that.
Sure, let me do that right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda.
Since we're all Cooper people here, do you want to sing the Cooper fight song?
Oh, is everybody Cooper here? Awesome. Go for it.
And I know you all have it memorized, right?
No. But I clap when people are singing.
If you sing, then I'll know if it works.
There
I'm
you
pretty
go.
sure it doesn't, but that's okay. It'll still be good to see their faces. No, I'm
Absolutely.
currently trying to figure out, because of the lag on all of these programs, I'm trying to figure out if I could possibly like send them a track to listen to like on their phone. And then if they listen to that on their phone and they're singing to that, I think it could possibly work. I'm trying to think of all different ways.
Yeah, no, I think it's totally worth a try, you know, and try it different ways. See which way kind of is the best.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's a question here. Did you say there was going to be information on using a Google Classroom if we do not have one? Yeah. So can you describe like your situation or what you would want to do?
Yeah. So we were instructed not to make Google. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because sometimes with the headphones it doesn't work. We were instructed not to use Google Classroom because I'm a social worker for like our groups and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's still the case, which is fine. But so how would we be able to use Google Classroom to share the link?
Yeah, so here is my suggestion, and I think it would work great in your situation because I do understand why those groups, they don't want to have kids all together because then it's like privacy and stuff, right? So basically what you could do is just create a Google Classroom called Social Work or whatever you want to call it. Don't invite anyone, so don't give the students the code to join. And then just by virtue of having created that Google Classroom and enabling the Meet link, you will have generated your own Google Classroom Meet link. And then you can share that with your students however you normally get information to them. And you would just give students different times. The only thing is, like, technically, a student, if they're supposed to come at 2 and they know that you are also doing a meeting at 1, or they just are wondering, they could click that link at 1 and they technically would be able to join your other meeting that's already going on. So that's the only thing to be conscious of. And then supposedly soon, because right now, any student that has the Google Meet link can, and in our domain, in our district, can just click it and join and be in. But soon, I guess Google Classroom is making it so that if you're not like enrolled in the Google Classroom as a student, you have to be manually admitted by the teacher.
Okay.
So I think that's, I think, still fine in like a case like yours when you're dealing with a very small number of students. Like to have to manually admit a kid like not enrolled in your classroom shouldn't be a big deal, and it's like a little bit more secure in that situation.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bye.
thanks.
Good to
Bye,
see everybody.
everybody.
Email
Bye.
us
Thank
anytime.
you.